the actual number of blacks who are committing murder is more than whites. Right. And whites are significantly greater.
60% compared to 13%
percentage of the population. Yeah.
So if you take that, then you took a law like Deuteronomy 21, which is a just law that God enacted through Moses. The law was that if you had a rebellious son, you have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious. They don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square. This is a rebellious son. And then they stone him to death. They kill him.
And an armed robber would certainly be one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Armed robber, all the ghetto
violent
culture.
Crimes.
Basically, take ghetto culture, it would describe this to a T. If you did that over 3 generations, how much violent crime would you have in the 3rd and 4th generation? Much, much less.
Well, you would have just the same amount of crime. This fucking idiot is this. These white Christian nationalists are fucking retards. Sorry, YouTube and the algorithm. I had to say shit how it had to be said, and there's no way of nicely putting this. This is another Charlie Kirk wannabe. This is a white pastor named, let's see what this fucking douche name is. Which blows me why they always be talking about black people and black crime. But in any event, that was white nationalist pastor Brian Suave, or Suave, however he said, a far-right Christian nationalist pastor in Utah, talking about stoning rebellious black men in the ghetto. Now, this is another fake-ass Charlie Kirk wannabe focusing on the wrong shit. He focused on black men committing crime, being rebellious in the ghetto, when he don't even live in the ghetto or in the hood. Not to mention, sir, you're a Utah pastor. Isn't that the same state Charlie Kirk was blasted and smoked by a young white man? It amazes me that they like to talk about rebellious black men and crime in the ghetto, and they don't want to talk about white crime or the crime that young white men perpetrate. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that black violence shouldn't be addressed. It should be. However, pathologizing it to make it seem like national epidemic of shit going on is preposterous. Now, I tell people all the time, and it's usually white people, well, the white persuasion, that for some odd reason they seem to not get this. This is either lost on them or they're fucking retarded. But I like to think my white people out there aren't. It's just these rednecks, these racist rednecks. They refuse to acknowledge white crime or the crime that young white men perpetrate. Or hell, even old white men. Wasn't it a 55-year-old that opened fire at a country music concert down in Las Vegas 2020? I think it was. I don't know. Memory serves me correct. It was somewhere between there. Yeah, that wasn't a black man. Was it a white dude that opened fire at a school in San Antonio, in an elementary school? A white kid that opened fire in a school in Colorado. The trans kid, which was essentially a young white woman, that opened fire at a Catholic school. Hell, the day Charlie Kirk was shot by a white man, it was a white school that was shot, I want to say in Colorado, in Texas. What the fuck are we talking about here? Now, I'm not saying that any crime should go unabated or should go out of unnoticed, or I'm not saying that in the least bit. I believe crime in general should be nipped in the bud, whether it's perpetrated by white people, black people, Latino people, all that shit. It doesn't matter. But it just blows me that you got these white dudes focusing on black violence in the ghetto, and they don't, one, live in black neighborhoods, two, are not like in any way possible going to be affected by the violence in the black community. If they're affected by any violence, it's going to be in their community. Hence Utah, sir, where you have a church, and Charlie Kirk was in your state at a university with a predominantly white campus. It just blows me. It's almost like they had blinders on. They refused to look at the fuck shit going on in their community, right in their backyard. And he's supposed to be a white Christian. Sir, what does the good book say? Before you point a finger and make judgment, pass judgment on another man, take the plank out your own eye. This motherfucker got a 2x4 in his shit, and it's put there by illegal immigrants. So yeah, like I don't. These people are weird. Speaking on white men and perpetrating crime and all this yada yada yada, we got right here the front man, lead singer of I think it was a European band called Lost Prophets. Singer Ian Watkins was convicted in 2013 after pleading guilty to 13 charges involved in SA offenses. Right, I ain't gonna go into the charges because YouTube will put ad suitability on my video, so I'll just let y'all inquiring minds wonder or do your Googles. But he was convicted, sentenced. They say two reports. One say he was sentenced to 29 years in prison. Another report say he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. All I know is he was sentenced to damn near 30 years in prison, at least. He won't get out until he a senior citizen. Unfortunately for him, he won't ever get out. He was actually a victim. He was stabbed multiple times by a 23-year-old and a 43-year-old. So go figure. A middle-aged nigga and a young nigga, and he probably was white, right? But young niggas no less, banded together and cleaned the trash off the prison streets. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And when I first saw this is like the second high profile case like this where the man has been a victim of his own circumstances. And he, in his prison mugshot, he looks smug. I'm assuming he's over 6 foot, so he had this disposition like he was gonna be all right. He a big man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna fuck with him. He big enough to ward attacks off. I don't know why people, especially men that's over 6 foot, have this disposition like they're strong just because they're tall. They be the weakest motherfuckers out there. Equilibrium just get knocked down. You know what I'm saying? Short dudes like myself that's 5'8", we got a closer center of gravity. These motherfuckers are lanky, unalooful. So he probably was taken down by some motherfuckers that was 5'8", 5'9". They had knives on them. They didn't care about none of that shit. What I'm trying to figure out in my brain, because he was 48, so he's my generation, or, you know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to figure out is how the fuck did he think that wasn't going to happen? Like, how did he... I don't be understanding these dudes, especially my generation of people. Like, how do you think that, you know what I'm saying, you going to fare well in the big house, you touching on kids? It's almost like they either... It's almost like they either forget, they got amnesia, or they just don't give a fuck, right? But reality is one of them things that will remind you that, like, I don't know what they thought just because gay culture was normalized, that in prison nobody gave a fuck. No, people got it fucked up. They get it twisted. Like, they forget that rape and attacks, stabbings are used as intimidation methods to keep people in line. It's not necessarily about sexual gratification or even the violence itself. It's about what it deters. It lets people know that there's a hierarchy, and it lets people know to stay in line, right? Because unlike the real world, there are no rules in prison. And the strongest, most ingrained person in the streets in prison runs the yard, right? Meaning the person that got the links on the drugs, the hoes, guns, right? You can't make a move without them saying so they have to establish a hierarchy. And violence and essays are used as means to just to let inmates know what's what and who's who. And he had a little bit of status. He was they said he was a rock star, but I never heard of this nigga. He was a rock musician, we'll say that, because ain't no more rock stars and ain't no more porn stars, right? And I guess they had to let him know that even though he has money, fame, notoriety, he don't run shit. And he touched on the kids. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? He got a green light put on his ass. What I'm trying to figure out is why in the world anybody would want that type of attention in a place like that, right? But once again, he probably didn't give a fuck. He thought he was the man. He didn't think nothing was gonna happen to him. He thought, well, I'm not gonna get raped because homosexuality, LGBT living is normalized. And nah, son, they use that to send a message. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if his demise wasn't a message sent to all incoming inmates or ones already there. Like, this is what we do to people like you. In any event, right, he faced Darwin's natural selection. There is a God. But that's what I'm saying. Going back to my original point, this is what white men need to talk about. Stuff like this. Not talking about black people, bro. How about you pathologize white men with money doing stuff to minors? How about that? In any event, this guy, Steven Crowder and Charlie Kirk, I'm not going to say should all face the same demise, but this guy faced his demise in prison. This scumbag pastor is gonna I'm not gonna say gonna face his demise, but Brian Suave should be more attentive and paying attention to the happenings going around like the world, right? Namely Charlie Kirk, if we want to be more so much specific. That's just me. Yeah, they think that it's like, what's the saying? Motherfuckers be thinking it ain't gonna be them till it's them. I never can understand people, whether it's the dude in prison, Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder, Brian Suave. Like, what be going through their mind, right? I guess it's the whiteness. It gives them a certain level of DWS. For all the people that don't know what DWS is, I have multiple recent videos. You can go watch them, and I'll probably put the link at the bottom of my description of the video, so you can actually go to my online store, copy a shirt that has DWS on it, and it will explain exactly what that is. Don't have a case of that. If you do, get your mind right and read a book. In any event, I'm out.